Hello folks, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I wanted to talk about the discussion surrounding the new World of Warcraft Classic WoW developer update. You know, the water cooler post that I've got behind me on my main monitor there, and that everyone in the community, all the content creators have made a lot of different videos on, and people have discussed it from every conceivable angle, and you know, your favourite content creator has read it with you on stream or on video, so in case you weren't actually able to read, you probably know what it says by now. So why am I so late to the party? Well, partly because I didn't really fancy following the bandwagon there, because as soon as I saw there was an update I knew it would already be old news, because about 50 billion YouTubers would already have covered it because they're so hungry for information at this point. And it was a great update, you know, 1.12, wonderful, I think that's a good choice. But what was more interesting to me was the discussion that surrounds this post. And it has again brought up the ever-persistent discussion as to whether or not and how successful will Blizzard's attempt be to recreate the 2004 era vanilla experience. Now, I understand people wanting to do this, and generally this falls into two camps. This sort of discussion generally has two flavours to it. The first one being, alright, we should try and recreate that sense of discovery, that the newness, and change all of vanilla's details, all of the specifics of it, so that we can have a fresh experience when we reimagine the game in, you know, 2020 or whenever it's released. What I mean by that is their idea is to keep the general philosophy of the game design the same. So, you know, that rewarding sense of difficulty, the grindiness of it, the punishing world, the feeling of feeling small in the world, and the fact that it's dangerous out there. You know, you're not going to be one-hitting packs of mobs, that sort of thing. And it's going to be very painful to level a warrior, you know, that sort of thing that we all love. They're going to keep that design ethos, but instead of having this piece of loot drop from this boss and this one from here, and this is the... Definitely, we've worked it out, optimal leveling strategy, you go from this zone to this zone to this zone, and here's all the quest locations. No, change all the specifics like that, but keep the actual game philosophy the same. And I understand why people want to do that, because basically they want to relive their childhoods in a way, or at least get that sense of wonderment, of discovery, of, you know, being some kind of intrepid explorer, going to Azeroth for the first time and reimagining it, rediscovering, recapturing that spirit that we all kind of crave so much. However, on the other side of the argument, you've got people saying, okay, right, no, we're not going to do that. Hashtag no changes. Don't get ahead of yourself. It's going to get really messy if we start changing all the details, and I'd rather just play the game we all know and love. Now, I definitely would fit into that category more so. But also, I think there's a more subtle argument to be said here, because you know, either it's okay, we change stuff, or okay, we don't change stuff. But I think the folks who want to change stuff, I understand why they want to do it, but actually it's basically irrelevant. It's futile, because back in 2004, Method didn't have a raid team that employed people full-time to raid for them. You know, to play a video game as a job. That was not really a thing back then, certainly not how it is now. We have people like in Wowhead and an MMO champion, people whose job it is to crunch the numbers on WoW and to do all the data mining so that we can figure out exactly what the optimal builds are. Because if you're, you know, Henry over there who's an accountant all day and he's not got time to be devising the optimal strategy for leveling, but he wants to play WoW in the evenings, you know, he gets home from work, so he says hi to the kids, has dinner with his wife, and then gets a couple of hours to go and play Azeroth and grind some boar asses, you know, that sort of thing. That kind of player doesn't have the time to crunch the numbers, so it's wonderful that we have these services to do that. But you know, back in the days when Thoughtbot was a new invention, we didn't have these kind of facilities. So if you go around changing all of the data, the details, and you know, changing all the numbers for different spell effects and saying what drops where, if you do that, sure, you'll get a new vanilla experience in a way, although it really won't be a vanilla experience, it'll be something completely different, though it might be fun in its own right. No arguments there, it probably will be fun too, because it has that same design philosophy. However, how long do you think it's going to take professional data miners, professional gamers, who their job is to find optimized strategies and all of that, how long do you think it's going to take them to figure out how the game optimally works? I don't think it's going to take very long. I think even if you go through all of that process to do all the changes, you're going to basically be in the same place where the min-maxed builds, the optimal routes, they're all going to be known within a few months, or at least a year. You know, I think there is definitely merit to be had in that discussion. Perhaps it would be fun for Blizzard to make another MMO entirely, but just with that same design philosophy. Or, which this is something I'm quite in favour of, how about they, instead of going on to Burning Crusade, which they're probably going to do, because Vanilla's probably going to be a big success and they're going to want to continue that, instead of going off into Burning Crusade, which is an expansion I have very dear to my heart, how about you actually just do a patch 1.14 or something, or, you know, go into Uldum, or go into Grim Batol, something like that, and expand the vanilla realm. So, and don't have the gear to be that much of an upgrade. This is possibly a video of its own right, to be honest, but don't have that much of a gear upgrade, maybe a bit, but make it so that all of the other content isn't made irrelevant. We don't want to be making a soft expansion. It does definitely want to be part of vanilla, but maybe make some side content that's really difficult and doesn't give you that much of a reward, but for people who have cleared max and, you know, full tier 3 and they need something to do with their time, give them something to grind out that'll take them a few years to do, that sort of thing. I think that's totally valid. And to be honest, I don't see it conflicting that much with no changes, because, you know, vanilla isn't a static thing. It never was. It never stopped at Naxx. Obviously, here we are talking about Battle for Azeroth. It clearly continued. There were changes as a part of vanilla, so I wouldn't be so upset to see some kind of, you know, old school RuneScape style new development of content, as long as they kept that old design philosophy. And so that brings me on to talking about what private servers are doing at the moment. And Nostalrius, as anyone who played on that server, and which I did, and many other people as well, and Lightsoap and all of these other servers that have been sprouting up in the last few years, and really for a long time as well, anyone who played those servers can tell you that they're fun. If Blizzard, what Blizzard really needs to do is not really worry too much. They had the Nostalrius guys over to the table, they all discussed it, they shared their information. Blizzard just needs to go and faithfully recreate what Nostalrius did. There's really nothing more to be said than that. We know that works. It was really good fun. I don't feel that there was anything that they could have done to Nostalrius that would have made it more authentic. So I'm absolutely in agreement with them for going for 1.12 and having the progressive content releases like we had in Nostalrius. So we don't start with Naxx being released, you know. We don't even start with Dire Maul being released. So just start it as the patch content came out, but with the talents that were more fun, really, more optimized, because let's be honest, there was some really gimped specs for a lot of the game, and vanilla anyway, the specs are pretty terrible, or at least they could have been much better optimized, but 1.12 is a good compromise, I'd say. So I think what the developer update showed to me is that, yeah, I think they've basically understood that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They know the private servers work. I mean, look at the populations, they're very healthy, and people are generally happy with how they've been implemented. So if Blizzard just recreates that, you know, make their own private server, which is really all we want them to do anyway, because we just want to be able to play the game that we've bought all those years ago without feeling like we're doing something illicit, or worrying that we might get our characters deleted, or, you know, have to do it all again in 6 months. So Blizzard just need to give us some kind of outlet to be playing private servers that a lot of people already play. And then the other side of the developer update that I thought was interesting and slightly disappointing is the fact that they seem to still be going off basically prototype builds. They were talking about, you know, the first and second prototype, and now they got something stable that is able to integrate the, you know, the cheat prevention, which I think, you know, anyone who's played these servers can tell you, you definitely want some cheat prevention, because oh boy, even in Nostalrius there was a lot of cheating that happened. In fact, I remember, I think it might have been the Elysium stress tests, where I think the GMs modded themselves to be, you know, gigantic gnomes that, you know, you could barely see the top of them, and when people were running from Mulgore up through the Barrens to Orgrimmar or something like that, there was videos of huge gnomes running past, and it was very trolly. But yeah, you can get away with a lot of stuff in vanilla WoW clients, so I'm happy to see them doing that sort of thing, and I don't think they'll introduce any cash shop features, anything like that. I'm perfectly happy to see them implementing a more stable architecture. However, that in itself is going to be kind of against the whole no changes ethos, because back then, in the original version of the game, people had so much latency. People had terrible computers. We were basically playing WoW on potatoes and lemons, you know, with wires attached between them to get some current going. That was basically what we were playing the game on. And so nowadays, with you know, beasts like I've got behind me, and my computer isn't even that powerful. They get much more powerful than that. And modern internet connections with Ethernet cables hooked up, you know, you might have a gigabit a second if you're lucky, or more, depending on what country you're in. And all of that's going to really trivialize some vanilla content, because there was an argument to be made that raids were quite hard back then because you had to get 40 idiots together and you know, sheep herd them down the right route in the raid and all of that. And then you have to get mechanics that people were operating on 300 ms, that kind of thing. And mechanics get a lot more difficult if you've no idea where your character's standing. So I think there will inevitably be changes. The experience that we're going to get in Blizzard Classic WoW is not going to be like what we got in 2004. But that's okay. Sure, it would be nice to get that sense of discovery, but really how long is it going to last when you've got people whose job it is to crunch numbers for WoW? And really, do you feel like that much is missing from the private server experience nowadays? I know I personally really enjoy it. So I'm going to be happy to see what Blizzard come up with. If they want to follow my advice, just do exactly what the Nostarius guys did, because honestly, that's the most fun I've ever had in Azeroth. So, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I'm looking forward to seeing what your opinions are, because it's probably a bit of a touchy subject, bit of a controversial one. So, you know, send me some comments down below. Join my Discord, the link is in the description. Follow me on Twitch as well, because I'll be streaming probably quite a lot in August once I get back from a work trip. But if you follow me on there, you'll get a notification when I go live. I'll be still advertising this in the meantime, but, you know, if you want to get there before everyone else, be my guest. Please subscribe, hit the bell icon, and share it with your friends if you found this useful. Have a nice day, everyone, and stay chim. See you next time.